We are recording.
So we're off. We're going.
We're going. We are go for launch. We are green across the board. Commence intro.
Commence intro. Intro commencing. Hello, everybody. I am Mark, and he is Chris, and we are the Schwarzenegger and Stallone video game development.
Okay, go on then.
Because, right?
Explain yourself.
I've been
I understand
really
your
enjoying...
ridiculous fantasy, all right, but yeah, come on.
Well, which one are you?
Well, if you've seen the size of me, I mean, honestly, which one do you think I am?
I think Stallone's a little bit more cerebral, so yeah. I think you can be Stallone. Only because
those guys could curl either of us with their left hand. You know?
Once, mate. Once.
That's all it takes.
I doubt Arnie could bench me, man. Not on my weight. It's more damning on me than it is on Big Arn. No, I've been watching.
I cannot bench you. You are too large a human.
No one could bench you. I was watching it on Netflix. You know the Schwarzenegger thing, the Arnold thing on Netflix. Well worth a watch, mate.
Yeah,
it's good. Good. If you're the same age of us, which you know most of you are out there, takes you straight back into the 80s.
Oh, the glory action days. I mean, he was a legend in those days, wasn't he? Every single Arnie movie was just a stone cold classic.
Well, you say that, right? You say that, but
apart from twins.
They reveal a couple of twins sold very well. A lot of people went to see it, but they showed some of his earlier work because I thought his first movie was Conan, and it wasn't. Right? He'd done some awful thing called Hercules, right? And they showed a couple of clips from it, and Arnie just couldn't act, right? He couldn't do it. And he had to go and take acting lessons, you know, and then he comes out in Conan and he did all his own stunts in Conan. So he's, you know, he was cut up and bruised. They used to do the stunts again and again and again until his face was all mashed up.
Nice.
You know, that's like back in the day when that's how they made.
He was like an early day Tom Cruise, wasn't he? He's like, yes, I will do all my own stunts.
That's right.
Because
that's right.
It's like because I cannot do the acting. He would need an act man to do that. To do all of his.
The act man to do the talking bits.
To be the talking bit. Because those bits are too dangerous. It's contractually written out for him, you know. The camera will not be on my face for more than 10 seconds without an act double.
Do you know the I mean you joke, but that's actually true that when they first filmed him, they dubbed him. They dubbed him because they decided that his accent was too thick, you know. Yeah. And Americans wouldn't be able to understand what he was saying.
God, can you imagine dubbing Arnold Schwarzenegger? I mean, you'd be looking over your shoulder the rest of your life, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Right. You'd see his Humvee coming down the road, you know?
Yeah.
And you'd see his Uzi 9mm hanging out the passenger door, you know? And you'd be like, no!
Did you know he married a Kennedy?
I didn't know that. What,
a
genuine political dynasty Kennedy?
Kennedy, yeah. Like I can't forget what her name was, but one of the Kennedys, and that's why. Obviously, then it leads into why you know the political campaign that from the UK just looked a bit strange, you know, in California.
Yeah, that's right. He was suddenly the governor of California, wasn't he? And it's like, what are you doing, you know? But you're saying what because that was his political connections. Well, Americans love the Kennedy family, don't they? It's like a strange fascination with this like ultimate tragic family
dynasty. But I think it was, you know, Big Arn. I think it was suddenly he's in that was what the conversations would have been about, right? Because of all the politics. So I wonder if that was what sort of, you know, presented itself as the next big challenge for him.
Yeah, maybe.
But it's also quite philosophical in there as well. You know, it's nice to watch a man looking back over his life, especially someone that's had effectively four massive careers, right? So he's a massive bodybuilder. While he was winning all the bodybuilding conversations, he made millions in real estate just out of his own smarts, right?
Did he really? Huh.
Yeah. So he didn't need the money when he went into acting, but he wanted a new challenge. So then he broke into acting and he did that. And then obviously he had the political.
You
know,
because I think once you're someone like Arnie, though, you just like you could say like he was kind of lucky because he came into acting right at the time in the 80s when like the massive ripped male action star was like at the peak, right? But you could also say that he was such a big influence that he actually made that happen. You know?
Yeah, the latter, 100%. Like before that, it was all Steve McQueen in Bullet, right?
Yeah, that's
and
right.
and big muscle men were
he was well cool.
stupid.
I suppose,
were idiots.
and Connery, James Bond as well. Like that was the idea of like a tough guy, wasn't it? You know, hairy chest and like suave accent and everything. You know.
Yeah, and Stallone and Schwarzenegger brought it back down to that, just that like essence of extreme masculinity that we all want to go and that wasn't even that tongue in cheek. Especially like, well, I'm not
at the
sure
time, definitely not.
Sly's ever done anything like tongue in cheek, has he? I think about him.
Yeah, Demolition Man. Demolition Man was like a really sort of like self-knowing, self-referential movie, wasn't it?
And maybe
both did it a little bit. There was also like Arnie was in Last Action Hero, wasn't he? And that was kind of like
Arnie did loads.
A send-up of all action movies, wasn't it? That he was in.
Yeah,
he sort of played himself, didn't he?
Didn't do very well. Last Action Hero. It kind of, a lot of people written him off after that, and then he came back with True Lies, which was
exactly. Started to modernize a little bit, didn't it? That's like a more modern action movie. And then there was some somewhere along the line there was some huge shift to like ultra cool like Matrix and stuff like that in the 90s.
And toward the end of the 90s. But I still think, for me, that those 80s movies, there's something just a real simplicity about that means the writing has to shine through. They're not hiding behind visual spectacle. It's all, even in like Predator, it's character based, right?
Yeah.
It's the
annihilation. Now that Predator is like a literary work of genius,
a literary genius,
and it isn't based on visual spectacle. Okay, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yeah, well, just like it's the slow death of all of their characters. They're all right. They're larger than life, but they've all got their own character. You all know they all go on their own little arc or whatever.
I know. I mean, I agree with you. That's what was so great about it. It's an action movie without a doubt, but it's also kind of a horror movie, isn't it?
Yes,
with them being picked off one at a time.
Yeah.
And it's like the complete destruction of like Arnie's mega masculine group of American soldiers are utterly powerless against this other force.
Against this exactly.
They just have their asses handed to them, until Big Arn finally steps up and says, "Right, this is serious now." Puts his war paint on.
That's right.
His own spear. Because oh my god,
that's it.
You've made me put my game face on.
Yeah, that's it. I should have bought a spear in the first place.
Because he was just like,
I needed a spear.
He was barely even concentrating in the earlier sections when they were raiding that camp, wasn't he? He was just like, this is so trivial to me.
Yeah.
It's like the first time he met an opponent that was actually a match to him.
And the wisdom, I almost want like the philosophy of Arnie now. He was talking to something that like stuck with me. Given that we're middle aged and have our ups and downs. He said he's got his life philosophy was about being useful. He said in this thing you can wake up in the morning and you feel a little bit miserable and you can hug yourself all day and cry in front of the movies, right? Or you get on with your life. You just be useful. You get up and do stuff. And I'm like, do you know what? I like that. Let's be useful. However miserable we're feeling.
That's a very alpha style view of the world, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to go and do something and make myself useful and thereby solve my deeper problems by ignoring them.
But I think it's quite refreshing to hear somebody as successful as Arnie returning to that kind of wisdom. Because for the last 20 years, it's all been about, feel your feelings and, don't ignore them and solve the underlying problems. Well, sometimes you can't solve the underlying problems. It's just, this is just where you are. This is the situation you find yourself in. But the one thing you can do is be useful, and just accept that sometimes it will be good, sometimes it will be bad. But be useful. Get on with it. Keep on trucking. Keep turning the wheel.
Right.
Get in your toys. Start
the engine.
Yeah.
And drive to City Hall.
Yeah, that's right. And
go and fix the underground system or something.
Right. Yeah. And do you know how he did it? He had a smoking tent, right? Because he's not allowed to smoke in California. So in the like the governor's governing building, they have their mansion, don't they? So presumably they have an office or something. You see, he had this like Bedouin tent with loads of leather armchairs, right? And whenever he wanted to do a deal with anybody, he took them in there with his stobies, with his big old smokes, his Cuban smokes that he smoked in violation of the treaty. right? And that's how we would do it. So it's like, I don't know how successful he was as a politician. I don't know.
But I think he was very successful. I mean, he was in it for years, and I think he's still in politics now, isn't he? Is he fully retired? No. I'm not even sure.
Well, I think he's back to making movies because there's no, or TV, because you don't make movies anymore, do you? You make.
That's funny. I mean, it definitely, there's an element there, isn't there, of like the star power, which I think probably played in his favor very heavily. Like there's like a natural, like a charisma and stuff, I guess, that comes from just being a mega movie star. Probably really helped him. I mean, if you were doing a deal with the state of California and you got invited by Arnie into his Bedouin tent to smoke some cigars, you could view that with a very different lens, couldn't you? You could view that with like a business strategy lens, and you could think Arnie knows what he's doing there.
Stop screaming at each other from the sidelines and have a smoke.
Get in your Humvee. Drive to 10 Downing Street and fix Brexit.
Mark Morris from Introversion Software encourages the next generation to start smoking.
Exactly. Create a Bedouin tent around the back of Downing Street.
Via bizarre Arnie Bedouin rant.
Yeah.
He's finally lost his
it's
shit.
an interesting series of ideas that you've had there, mate.
Yeah, it's good. It takes me 6 weeks to formulate these essays, mate.
So let's have some serious insight. I think we're done with the Alpha 5 video, quite frankly. I don't think we can top that. There's nothing of any importance that we can say at this point.
We should just come out. Well, in any case, let's dive in and see if that is in fact the case.
One of the things that's a bit weird about these arms is, well, they're quite long arms, aren't they? Right? They actually have a range of 2 squares in both directions.
Right.
So they pick up from 2 on the left and they drop off 2 on the right, which is great. But it sort of forced this whole layout is actually quite space inefficient.
Oh, okay, I see.
Like, you could really compress this up a lot if only you had some sort of short robot arm.
Right. I mean, you are pushing the boundaries now. Of video game design, as we've always done at Introversion.
Tell me about it.
We've now introduced short robot arms.
Right. So here we've got this is interesting. This is a direct use case, right? Here we have let's install some short robot arms right here. Right. So these things will run on that length of track. Right.
Okay.
So you can pack these things up much closer together. Now, robot arms, just as a side issue, do actually require power now. In the previous alpha, these were unpowered, but they don't really look like unpowered things, do they?
No. They look like very hefty, heavy duty.
So, what are we doing here? This is interesting, right? This is obviously a line of drone bays, right? And you can see we've got a bunch of short robot arms here, lifting everything off a drone bay onto this loop. It's like a sort of luggage loop at the airport,
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
But it's all mixed, It's like, what are we going to do with this? Like, how you can see what I want to do because I've got 2 rows of smelters.
You want the gold on A or whatever it is, and the mineral thing ore on B. Yeah.
And I want the metallic minerals on this one. And the short robot arms have enabled me to get this far. But I also have another type called a smart robot arm. Right, now a smart robot arm is going to go here and here. Now the idea behind a smart robot arm is that it's the first type of, it's like a selective arm, for manipulating items. So once they've been built, and I've remembered to cable them,
power them up.
I can right click on this guy, and it lets me pick the type of material that I want to move, and I can select from the list. So I can pick
cool.
Precious ore, right? And then as soon as it sees some precious ore, it'll start lifting it off.
Yeah, nice. There we go.
Right, and then our follow-ups will lift that into our smelters, and each of these has got a huge internal box, of ore, and we can set this one to metallic minerals, right? And that will offload all the material from there, and let's launch our drones. Right? Because you can see that this has come about because this asteroid that we're mining has a whole mixture of precious ore and metallic minerals.
Right. So it's a very abundant source of multiple useful assets.
Exactly. And let's do a bit of that and a bit of that. Right, so we can carry on mining this thing. So you can see we've now got our robots feeding in the minerals from this mining excursion onto this line. You get the general idea. So this is this is like a legit attempt to automate completely the process of mining and capture and refining. And then, because there's absolutely no reason either why, if we had a bit more ship space, we couldn't have even more tracks coming out of this at the end, like this.
Right, yes.
And taking this off like this, to a later part. But yeah, this works kind of well, I mean, this is a much higher throughput of production. All right, so that's our short robot arms and smart robot arms. Let's have a look at the Stargate project. So, what is all this actually about? So, when we finished the last alpha, when we finished phase 1 and 2 of the Stargate, it looked like this. Right, here we are. This was phase 2 that we just completed, and this is the ship that we'd built. Right. So, for this alpha, we've gone further and we've done phase 3 and we've done phase 4. Right. Phase 3 is similar, right, to what's gone before, in that it is a production line. But phase 4 is very different. So let's go through them in order, shall we? We have to manufacture 100 Stargate receivers. Right? So this might seem normal. It's a slightly more complex component, like a frame and an energy core on the lens. So that's 3 ingredients. Each of those is going to require its own production chain, right? But there's a slight catch, and this is the slight catch. Right? If I go to my assembly table and click, you'll see something is missing.
Oh yeah, it's not there.
It's not here. Why can we not manufacture a Stargate receiver?
Because it's a bug.
Thanks for the vote of confidence. No, Mark, it's not a bug. It's a feature. It's, why can't we manufacture a fusion reactor even though we know how to?
Because we don't have the technology yet.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have the technology yet, right? We need to research how to manufacture some of these parts. Phase 1 was simple because it was just frames and resin and stuff. And phase 2,
and scaffolding.
Yeah, simple shit, right? We've just started with the stuff we know. I mean, look at the Stargate. It doesn't look like anything fancy yet. But we don't actually know how to make this Stargate yet. So we have to research it. Right? There has to be a science and research and development project. So in order to do that,
it's ballsy. It's like, we don't know how to make it, but by the time we finish the frame that we do know how to make, we will know how to make the next bit.
We know roughly how to make it. Like, there's a drawing on a blackboard somewhere and some calculations. But, it can be many years from those drawings and calculations until a finished thing. And the work can go on in parallel, whilst that's work occurring. So we can go to this new screen called Research. Right, here it is.
Oh, that's nice.
So this is a new screen. This is all new. And this is the work of nice. Our intern known as Alfie.
Okay, well done, Alfie.
Yeah. We've had... How long has Alfie been with us now?
April, I think. Alfie started.
Since April. So we had... So Louis' project was the Stargate. It's coming along very nicely. And Alfie's project is the research system. And they're great interns. They've taken on some big chunky jobs. So what does this mean? This is a tech tree, right? This is an unlockable tech tree, and we're in the middle. So we can click on things around here and see the kinds of projects that our scientists could be put to. So as an example, factory automation, right? If you unlock this one through science, you get access to the blueprints for the robot arm and the track, right?
Okay,
We've had robot arms and we've had tracks, but you always have to buy them. But if you unlock that through research, then you'll be able to get your assembly tables to manufacture them, right? Which is essentially critical if you want to start building bigger and bigger
cheaper,
automation.
Right? So you can, so you can chunk them all out.
Yeah, because you need loads, right? You need tons of track if you want to automate things, the way that I was doing with those smart arms earlier. And it's not just blueprints either. There's also this thing here, metallurgy. Metallurgy.
Metallurgy 1.
So, what does it say? This increases our smelter efficiency by 20%, right? So this is like a science unlock. So it doesn't give you any new equipment, but it means every nugget of of minerals that you've put through a smelter, you'll get 20% more ingot out of that process.
Ingot for your nugget.
Yeah, exactly.
20% more ingot for your nugget. Sounds good to me.
And then this one's like 40%. So, it's also like performance boosts, and I think we'll probably do more of them as well in the future, where your equipment becomes more efficient, gets better at. The one that we need is energy transmission. So, unlock schematic for the energy transmitter and receiver. All right, so what the hell is this about? This is to do with the Stargate, right? So this unlocks a pair of equipment items. Right? The energy transmitter is a piece of equipment that goes in your ship, right? And that is designed to beam power. It's like a sort of microwave. It's a sci-fi microwave power transmitter,
right?
Basically, and the Stargate receiver is the item that sits on the Stargate and receives your beamed power. Right?
Okay.
So in the lore of our world, this Stargate is not going to have a power generation system on board. Right? It's going to have these fins, and these fins are going to receive power from other ships. And when I say other ships, I mean your ships.
So this is analogous to the big contraption on the top of the DeLorean, right? And Doc Brown plugging in the cable at the right moment to transmit the power to the DeLorean to get it to 88 miles an hour in 1950.
I hadn't thought of that. And so you know the exact moment when the lightning is going to strike the clock tower.
That's right. Yeah. Brilliant. Who wrote that?
Great Scots! Right? And he's there holding the two cables. And the electricity just goes right over his body, doesn't it?
That's right. Well, it's not just electricity, mate. It's 1.21 gigawatts.
Yeah, just the right amount. Yeah, going right down the clock tower.
How many? Can we have 1.21 gigawatts per Stargate receiver?
We'll set it to 1.21 gigawatts.
Yes.
All right. So how are we gonna actually go about doing this science then? Well, that's a very interesting question. We are going to travel back to the Stargate location. Jump. All right. So we've jumped back to the Stargate. There it is in the background.
I see it.
We need some new equipment and we need some new people. Let's go to the trade
research. To do the research, to learn how to make the Stargate receiver.
That's right. So you'll see some new things. We've got a science station, right?
Nice,
a workstation for a scientist to conduct valuable research.
Yeah, nice.
That sounds useful. And then we have a supercomputer, a powerful computer for number crunching and simulating important research. This is all related. Two of those, thank you. 2 mainframes. And we have these guys. These are the first, bespoke crew type in the game,
I like his sci-fi white coat.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
It's a white lab coat, but it's got sci-fi bits on it.
I know.
Because it's the future,
I know. And look at him, he's still addicted to his smartphone, even though it's the 24th century.
Yeah.
He's got it right there. It's already unlocked, just in case he gets any important messages.
Yeah.
I bet he can't go 3 minutes without looking at that thing.
3 minutes? That's a lifetime, mate. 3 seconds before the latest tweet.
Yeah, exactly. Like you looked at your sci-fi data pad 768 times today.
My children, right, watch videos of idiots reacting to other idiots on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then I found myself watching my children in that context, like I said, of them idiots, right? What's going on? Someone should film that. Put that on TikTok, top tick.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where we're going wrong, mate.
I just think, if you wanted to sabotage humanity, you wouldn't have gone as far, would you? As the social media companies have gone. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
hang on, we haven't invented this, have we? These videos, which are effectively me reacting to your work. Right?
I think obviously no one realizes, but we invented the reaction video and we do them live. Yeah.
I can't believe we're responsible for the downfall of the human race.
I think we probably are. Yeah. I think we might have the Geneva Convention on the phone again soon. The
Geneva Convention's not a person.
Hi there. This is G Convention.
Oh mate, we need to have a character called Geneva Convention.
Called Gene. Yeah. All right, Gene. Brilliant. How's it going?
All right, yeah, right.
So let's start them off. We'll go straight to what we want. We'll go to energy transmission, begin research, right? So this is our progress bar showing the research in progress. Our scientists have to be at the computers, right, for this to work. So here they come.
Oh, here they are, yeah.
Right. I might get them to hang around near the science computers, actually. So I reckon this is probably the only place on the ship where they'll be comfortable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where they can play video games and stuff.
Well, they won't be happy with those crew members around.
No, this is our space. We should get DEFCON to appear on these little screens.
Yeah,
We've got nothing to do.
Yeah. That's brilliant, mate.
Let's play DEFCON against each other. So you can see, like in the research screen, like they'll slowly fill up the research bar until energy transmission is unlocked. Right. So it doesn't use the and you can actually see like this is our progress along this line.
Oh, I see. Yes. So moving its way. So what's one RP then?
Yeah, so it's research. It's like a cost, right? There's a cost associated with every research project. So these are simple, right? This one is just one research point. It's the smallest cost it can be. These later ones, like fluid logistics level 3, uses 2 research points. So it'll take twice as long. Or smart automation, 4 research points and 4 computation points. Now, what the hell is a computation point? Well, we did get these supercomputers, right? So sometimes your scientists need a bit of raw processing power to do the work for them as well.
Just crunch some numbers.
Crunch some numbers, yeah. So if you went to the research screen and you clicked on factory automation and did that research instead, that requires 1 research point and 1 computation point. And you can see there's now 2 progress bars. And, our supercomputer spins up and starts drawing enormous amounts of power. On the power grid, this stuff is 140 megawatts, right? You can see that's our power usage for science right now.
Wow, that's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
So going back to that research screen then. So basically, once that research points bar on the left is completely full, you'll get 1 research point, which will be immediately spent on factory automation. That's the way you think about it, right? This
bar is the bar for factory automation.
Yeah.
So you can't accumulate, you don't build up research points as like a spendable currency, and then go to the research screen and spend it on fluid logistics or something. It doesn't work like that. You give your scientists an objective. All right. I've told my scientists I want you to work on designs for a robot arm and a track. Right. And they'll go ahead and they'll work on that. And then when it's done, they stop work. Right. And they'll go back to checking their messages. And
playing DEFCON,
running Tinder and stuff.
Yeah.
And so, so that's how the science system works at the moment. And I think, again, it feels insane to me that we're still adding such massive new systems to the game. At this point, this is still a first pass of this. And I think there might be other types of points that go into science.
Yeah. Okay.
Because in the earlier iterations of the game, we had those hyperspace sensors, and they gathered data from space, didn't they? Sucked in data, whenever you're in hyperspace. And that's probably going to be another form of research input, It's like another ingredient. All right, good.
Very good.
So let's fast forward to a point when that has been researched, shall we?
Yeah.
So here we are a little bit later, right? Scientists aren't doing any work at the moment, but we have unlocked the schematic for the Stargate receiver. Okay. And you can see, for the first time really, I've actually built a legit production line.
Yeah, cool, man. It's cool.
I wanted the aims to be different. Like phase 1 is easy, but you don't have any money, so that's your challenge.
You don't know what you're doing, do you?
Yeah, you have to learn. Yeah. Phase 2 is just you can still ad hoc this, right? You don't really need robot arms and automation to make these. But phase 3 you kind of do, because this Stargate receiver has got 3 separate inputs, and they all need manufacturing, and then they all need bringing together. And you have to make a lot of them. You can see here we've got the lens for the first. This is a new component as well. This is made out of the precious metals.
Yes.
So precious metals have been in the game forever, like right from the start, but they were just a sort of economic ore that you could make money from.
Now you polish them up into lenses.
Because in my mind, precious metals has always been kind of a silicate, kind of like a silicon. And so it's going to be kind of the root of anything glass or high tech or about computer chips or anything like that. Silicon is kind of like the magic ingredient, and that's why it has such high economic value. I never thought of it as gold. So you can see we've already made a bunch of Stargate receivers. We're making 4 more per minute, and just like before, to submit them to the project, we can sell them through the trade screen.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? They're 22,000 credits a pop, which is
that's all right. Yeah, it's good.
A lot of money because you're reaching the point now where you actually need quite a lot of money. Like if you want to automate and get bigger, it all costs money. Everything costs money, and
true dat, my friend.
You need three separate true dat, and you need separate. You need 3 separate raw materials coming into this chain as well. You need metal ingots and copper ingots and precious metals, and they all need to come in through your smelters. So there's a whole chain behind this.
Yeah, I see.
And so you can see we've submitted those parts, and maybe you can see some Stargate receivers starting to appear.
It's nice. Yeah. It's looking good. Yeah, I like it. I like the colour finally.
Yeah, so the fins are filling up with the hardware that we're making.
I love that. I love that partial silhouette by the.
It's cool, isn't it? Yeah, it's nice seeing it be built like that. I wanted you to always be able to come back to that.
I feel like the Stargate itself needs a bit of work, like the interface, screen. It looks a little bit bland.
Maybe we should be in some sort of alpha process.
Yeah,
so
maybe we should. Yeah,
we can work on it slowly.
Yeah.
So what's going on here? So this is a little further on the same ship. So you can see I've doubled it up, right? So this is making 8 Stargate receivers a minute now with a lot more automation.
Nice,
I tried to work out the ratios, but I'm not sure I got it right. Because it's 15 seconds to make a frame, so you can make 4 in a minute. So 2 of those makes 8 frames a minute, and this needs 8 frames a minute. So the frames are definitely correct. But this one takes 45 seconds to make a coil. So you need to do maths to work out how many coil productions you need.
Sounds like lowest common denominator stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to be... I specifically wanted Phase 3 of the Stargate to be like a challenge of automation, Like you really do have to get your automation skates on. And most likely in the research screen, unlock factory automation and start manufacturing your own robot arms and tracks so that you can just expand this up. Because you could expand this up again and put smelters on the outside, and have them feeding into these fabricators.
Yes, right.
So you get bigger and bigger production lines. It's like a pyramid, isn't it? All leading towards this one component,
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So that is Phase 3.
Nice.
Let's take a look at Phase 4. Okay, so we've completed Phase 3. Right.
We've completed Phase 3, have we?
There
We've
it
gone
is.
forward. There we go. Okay.
All of the fins are now full. All 100 Stargate receivers have been supplied.
All receivers are ready and aligned.
Now, Phase 4 is a test phase, right? It's the first test firing of the Stargate. So along this 10-phase process, there are going to be various points when you don't manufacture things anymore, but you do run a test to make sure everything works. Yeah. Cool. And this is going to be a test of the energy transmission system that we've just built. So it tells us what we have to do. Provide enough power to the Stargate with energy transmitters to complete the test fire. So the Stargate needs 250 megawatts. Sorry, it's not 1.21 gigawatts just yet. It's only a test phase, remember. You need 250 megawatts of power to be beamed to this Stargate. And it needs to be for, I think it's 90 seconds, continuous. Okay. Right? It needs to receive unbroken power transmission for 90 seconds.
Well, sounds taxing.
We also need this energy transmitter, which we don't have. Now, we have unlocked energy transmission. Oh, not in this save, because I cheated. But energy transmission is unlocked. So you can set your team to work making those energy transmitters. And if you look at the schematic for them, 10 frames, 10 energy coils, 4 motors, and 4 lenses. It's a lot of material, but it isn't anything new,
Yeah,
But each of these energy transmitters transmits 100 megawatts, right? And we need 250, so we only need 3 of these energy transmitters.
Okay.
So this is so the production job here is not a sort of it's not a big automation job. It's just something that you have to manufacture during phase 3. Realistically, when you're getting close to finishing phase 3, is when you should think about manufacturing your energy transmitters. So let's install them, shall we? This is them.
Okay.
Ordinary piece of equipment, fits on your ship.
Yeah. Comes in a tiny box.
Comes in a tiny box, just like any other. You can't buy these anywhere, right? You can never find these to buy. Why can't you find them to buy? Because you had to do all that science and research to figure out how to build them.
Yes.
So because of that research system, that is what has meant that we're now ahead in the game of building these things. And they're never going to be for sale, at least certainly not at this phase of the project. So there's our 3 energy transmitters. They're not really doing anything right now. Now if we look at our power grid, we've got good headroom here, right? We're not really doing much on this ship. You can see here's our reactors trundling away.
Because that red remind me, that red dot gets bigger, right?
Yeah,
does it?
That's right.
So this is your go all the way. That's your capacity.
That's your maximum capacity.
Okay.
You could do with telling you what that number is.
I was asking, is that 85 megawatts what it's supplying now, or is that your maximum capacity?
Right. 85 is the current cost for your ship.
And 1.21 gigawatts is your maximum capacity of your reactor.
That's right. Well, you see, the thing is that when you get to the next test phase, which will probably be phase 8 or 9, it will be a full energy test phase as well as other things at the same time. And it probably will be a much... This is a deliberately low power requirement, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
to test everything's working, right?
It's just to test everything's working. So let's fire it up, shall we? Let's go to the Stargate screen. And all you have to do is click Start, right? And those energy transmitters will immediately start pulling power from our ship and beaming it to the Stargate, right? So I'm going to power it up.
Powering up.
There we
graphs!
Go. Right, that's our graph of energy transmission.
Like that, man.
Yeah,
that's
there's
nice.
And there it is in the background receiving its power, right? And there are energy transmitters pulsating away.
You wouldn't want to cross the beam, right?
No. And if I were you, crew members, I wouldn't stand there because
no, I wouldn't. Not if you want kids.
There'd be all kinds of gamma radiation coming off that. And if we look at our power grid, right, we can see there's our 300 megawatts science line, and if for any reason, if you fail, if you cut the power like that, like I just did, they power down and the Stargate test ends, right, and you fail phase 4.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter. You can't really, thrown off the project or anything. It's just a gateway that you have to get through. You
just got to do it again.
You've got to show that you're capable of doing it, and you will not progress to phase 5 until you can provide that power. So let's try that again, shall we? There we go. So that's our power output ramping up. Right, now we're at full power, so you can see we're delivering 300 megawatts, which is above the 250 that we need. This ship, it's not too hard because we've got the headroom, right? And we're not doing anything else that's too mega power intensive. But if you were doing everything else at the same time, you would find that you had to disconnect all those other things, right? So mining is one of the most power intensive things that you can do, for example. And you would find then that it's one of the first times when this power grid screen comes in handy, because you can turn down the power usage of all these other systems, right? I can turn life support down, and I can turn my engines off and my FTL off, and give myself even more space. I can turn logistics fully off as well. Right. I don't really want to turn life support fully off.
No. I mean,
you can see there that I've essentially configured my power grid to be entirely focused on this experiment, this phase.
Yeah.
And everything else.
It feels as if that should be a little bit more, more part of it. Is this just because you're?
It's because this is a test ship. This is not a realistic phase 3 ship, right?
Okay. So it would be a lot harder in.
Let's load a realistic phase 3 ship, shall we? Like say this, right? So here's our power grid, right, for this ship. And this ship is deeply involved in
it.
Yeah, and I don't even have any energy transmitters here. Right, so this is what your ship looks like when you're under the burden of all of your mining lasers going off, and logistics drones flying around. And you can see we're at capacity, We don't have 300 megawatts to spare. And so you would have to expand your reactors on this ship.
Yeah, okay.
The other thing that you can do is build a whacking great big battery. You need 300 megawatts for 90 seconds. So you could build a huge battery array that you then fully charged in advance. And then even if you're pulling too much power, it would just pull it out of the battery instead.
So you'd be okay.
Yeah, exactly. As long as your battery was big enough. Either way would work. Now, I think that probably it's worth mentioning that, again, this is just a test phase, right? This is just a test for energy transmission. What I actually want to happen is I actually want the player to have to make a support ship for the Stargate, whose primary purpose is to provide power to the Stargate. And that's really all it's about. It's just that for Phase 4 that isn't necessary.
Yeah, okay, it's just setting that up.
Yeah. So, there's one final thing to talk about. You might have noticed earlier when we looked at this ship, there's been a bit of an accident, hasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
It looks a bit damaged.
See yeah.
Right. Well, I didn't really like the fact that, it was never my plan that this game mode was completely peaceful, right? That it's just industry and nothing else, because this game has a nice tradition of space combat that we've been working on for a long time. And I don't want the construction of the Stargate to be completely unopposed.
Right.
Now, so what have I done? So for Alpha 5 now, once you pass Phase 2, certain factions in the system will object to the construction of the Stargate. Right? They object stringently to the construction of the Stargate. And they will express that dissatisfaction
with guns.
And that is what happened here.
Okay.
We were attacked. We were assaulted by a bunch of revolutionary environmental protection
space
militant antagonists.
Space antagonists.
Yeah, that's a lot of words.
Yeah.
And as luck would have it, they've arrived again. They know where we are, and they know what we're up to, and they object, and they're here to try and stop us. So for the first time ever, once you pass Phase 1 and 2, Phase 1 and 2 are safe. Once you pass Phase 1 and 2, defense is now something else that you have to think about.
You're going to have to manage.
Yeah. Now, I've made a mistake, and my defensive ship is all the way over here.
Right. What are you doing?
Because our GMC mining station is not really configured for combat, given all the things that we've been talking about.
It's configured for manufacture. It's not combat manufacture.
Yeah.
But it wishes it was now. It's taking a pounding.
Now, I haven't added... So I could, for example, if I was worried, I could tell my drones to stop gathering materials and just work on repair instead. And I think that we might do ourselves a favour and fly towards our defensive ship. I'm not actually going to demonstrate space combat at this point, because I feel like we did a lot of that in earlier videos.
Yeah, you can watch it.
But the gist of it is that at the same time that you're ramping up the Stargate complexity, your industrial complexity goes up each level, your defense gets harder as well. Right? So the enemy forces that attack you are also going to step up.
Cool.
And become harder to deal with. And that is another challenge for you to figure out. I have found that a completely separate military ship is actually the way to go. Because for a long while we've had ships that were very, very good at space combat, and they just have such different requirements. They need to be armoured, and they just obviously expend all of their energy on railguns and rocket launchers and the like. But it's an extra thing that you're going to have to think about. I think it would be interesting as well to think about defensive stations and things,
Yeah.
Static stations whose primary aim is to defend the mining operation, that kind of thing. I think that's probably the future where we're going to end up going, because I don't think you're ever going to be able to make a truly great industrial production line that is also a great warship.
Yeah, the two things are going to be very separate.
Yeah. So there you go.
So that is Alpha 5. Tell us what you think in the Steam forums. We're always keen to know. I think we missed a bit of a trick, mate. I went to Comic-Con, the Comic-Con, MCM Comic-Con earlier this year. Cool. There's loads of Comic-Cons now, but I went to Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And there were a bunch of people there. I didn't really know who they were because I'm sort of a bit out of. I think they had one guy from Game of Thrones, but the rest of them I wasn't quite sure who they were. But they charged money to have their autographs taken, right? Or your photographs of them, right?
Right. This is your new plan to raise money.
I was stood there, right, and I was thinking, oh, okay, all right, who's this guy? 250 quid. Wow, that seems to be quite a lot for like second assistant art designer on the Expanse or something. But anyway, no, it appears to be a full, full on.
That's a thing. So is it? That is a thing. Okay.
That's the thing.
It's not the stupidest commercial idea you've ever had, but it's one of them. But carry on.
So we've got tens of thousands of fans, hundreds of thousands, probably millions, right? Probably, right? And we are going to be at WASD on September the 14th until the 16th, right? Yeah. Which is, I don't even know where it is. I should have looked this up beforehand. You sound professional. It's in London. I think it's at the Truman Brewery in London, right? But have a look, WASD in the Truman Brewery. So if you want to come along, right, and meet us, we'd love to meet you. You'll be able to play whatever the latest version of Last Starship is by then, and you can tell us what you think about it. And also, we'll sign things for you.
For 250 quid.
Well, I was thinking more like 50p, maybe.
Yeah. That's interesting. So I think you've got to be quite famous to charge for an autograph. I mean, you must have been some famous people there.
Well, I didn't know who they were, but we're quite famous, mate. We're known as the Stallone and Schwarzenegger as the video game development community. So WASD. Now, if you can't make it to WASD, don't worry, because we're making another video for Alpha 6 in about 6 weeks, the same sort of time period, so kind of early September. So enjoy your summer. We hope you liked Alpha 5. This is Mark and Chris out.
Oh, yeah.